Hello, welcome to the Quakes Motel. My name's Conan. In today's video, I'm going to show you a little technique which can help bring some extra secret sauce to your beats. Let's jump in. So this is an old school technique. I certainly didn't invent it. A lot of drum programmers use it. But what it does is it can just inject a bit of a human feel in your beats, humanization, humanness, various other words with human in it. But it just takes your beats, in my opinion, to the next level. It just takes what can be a good sounding regular beat to a really, really good groove with funk, with goodness and stuff. Now, I've had 2 cups of coffee in the last hour, so if I speak really, really fast, I apologise in advance, because I do have a tendency, I'm quite sensitive to caffeine. And yeah, I'm just saying in advance. Okay, stop corpsing. Okay, let's do this. So I've got several sounds on my MPC. Now I want to keep this really, really simple, because not only am I going to show you this technique, which is basically ghost snares, ghost kicks, ghost hats. That would be the best way to describe it. That's how I've heard other people describe it, so that's what I'm going to call it. But I'm going to show you another couple of little bonus techniques as well, which you can use with the ghost technique to really, really give your beats some kind of human groove and funk. So I'm going to keep it really, really simple. I've got 2 kicks, 2 snares, a clap, and 2 hats. And I'm probably not even going to use them all. What I'm probably going to use is 1 kick, 1 snare, 1 hat, and maybe just a clap kind of in the background just to beef things up. So I'm going to make a very, very basic beat to start with. And then what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to start adding in ghosts, show you the little techniques that I use for the ghosts, and just show you how you can add some little extra little flicks, ghosts, bits, flams, other descriptive words for tiny little subtle drum bits. I told you, it's the coffee. Okay, so let's decide which kick. We'll use that one. I like that one best. I think I like that snare best. I think I like that hat best. So they're the sounds that we're going to use. 95 BPM sounds good. Okay, this is going to be really, really simple to start with. Okay, let's just turn the metronome off because it drives me mental. You're going to use that hat. Okay, quick little technique with 16 levels set to velocity, just to make your hats have a little bit more of human feel, because real drummers don't tend to hit a hi-hat at exactly the same velocity every single time. They tend to fluctuate a little bit. So you can play it at different levels and it just adds a little bit of humanization to it. But I'm still going to keep it very simple. Okay, so super simple boom bap style beat. Okay, so now we're going to start adding some of those little ghost techniques. So to start with, I'm going to use perhaps a kick. Yeah, we'll use the kick, and I'm going to write that in, and then I'm going to play around with it on the grid. Now, with the ghosts, I tend to use 16 levels because you've got an easy way of having control over the velocity. Okay, so I've written that in, but because it's quantized, that swing and groove that I played in live is not going to be there. So you can have the quantized set up to have it a little bit closer, using different triplets, 32 triplets. But to be honest, just the way that I tend to do it, you can also have the swing written in automatically as well. What I tend to do is I tend to write it in and then I tend to play around with it. It's just how I've always done it. Going back to the days when you didn't have as much control over the quantization of your beats and stuff. So if we go into the grid, obviously that would normally be down, that'd be a Ranger window, but I've looked in there already, so it's opened up with the grid automatically. So you can see the ghost kicks in there. This is the kicks along here. And you'll see that they're a different colour on the grid as well because they're played at a lower velocity. Basically, if it's like the full red colour, it's 127, which is the highest velocity. And then the different colours will be different velocities, basically. So lower down. The yellows are the lowest ones. You've got orange in there as well. And that's from the hi-hat because I was playing that at different velocities in the 16 levels. It's not super accurate. Like there's not a different colour for every single different velocity, but it gives you a rough idea of what the full level ones are and the slightly lower in volume ones are. So we've got the ghost kicks here. And this don't snap just here is basically going to make it so that let's just show you, right? If I highlight this kick here and I move it, it's going to snap to the quantization. But if I take don't snap off, turn don't snap on, that's it, you'll see that I can move it a lot more gradually. So that's what I want to do. I want to highlight the actual kicks, which the ghost ones, the humanized ones, and I'm going to put them exactly where I want them. So that to me needs to be a bit later. See, that straight away sounds almost perfect. And then that one there needs to be later as well. When you do it like this, there's no real science to it. You want to use your ears. You want to feel the groove. You know, I've said in many videos that if my head starts nodding, I know I've got it in the right place. And you'll just know, you know, don't let anybody tell you that you must swing your beats to 63% or you must swing if you're going to make boom bap, it's got to be 67%. I mean, I've heard people say that. Don't listen to them. Just feel the groove where you want the groove. Because, you know, like if you've heard many stories about Dilla, about how he wrote his beats, if you've read his book's amazing. It goes into how Q-Tip also exactly the same way. They studied drummers and they listened to the way drummers, you know, real drummers play, where they will push the groove, where they'll be early, where they'll be late. And that's something that is a feeling. So the reason why they ended up programming their beats the way that it did was they weren't really following any kind of science. They just wanted to inject a kind of real groove, a feeling that you have as a drummer. So we've got these digital machines that that sit everything on a grid, you know, ones and zeros, as people say. So what we want to do to humanize it is use something that AI can never replace, and that is groove, feeling. You know, you could have I'm getting into AI here, going a little bit of a tangent, but no matter how much you try and teach AI, they're still not going to really get the groove. They're not going to understand the funk. They're not going to understand the true feeling of that swing, that randomness, that chaos, that beautiful chaos that you get from live drumming, where you'll push the snare, you'll drag the snare, you'll be dragging the hi-hats, then you're pushing the hi-hats. That groove, AI all day long could simulate it, emulate it to a point, but it's never going to have that true chaos, that true groove, and it's not going to understand that real groove. 10 years time, I might be sitting here and go, wow, have you heard this program that completely emulates groove? Anyway, they're getting pretty close, but in my opinion, the reason why I do it like this, and it is a little bit longer, it does take a little bit longer, is because I want absolute control over my beat and I want it to have that groove, I want it to have that feel. I started as a drummer, 5 years old. My dad wanted me to play the guitar, so I said, drums, please. And, you know, this is, it sounds so cheesy and cliched, but it is literally in my blood. So the way that I've always programmed MPCs and on a computer and the SP1200 and every other machine that I've used to program drums is I've tried to be as human as possible. And honestly, you know, I'm not for a moment saying that I did it before Dilla or did it before Q-Tip or whatever, because there was loads of us doing it like this. Loads of us wanted to inject that humanization into our beats. You know, the moment drum machines came out, the first thing that real drummers did was wanted to make that drum machine sound more human. It was just you know, this goes back into the 80s, maybe even the 70s of programming drums. So I've always done it like this. It does take a little bit longer, but for me, it's the ultimate way to get that totally original groove, because it's not going to be copied. It can't be, you know, it can't be copied because you've put it in the exact spot that you want it to be in on that particular moment. If I program this drum beat tomorrow, it would sound different. This is how the groove is in me today. Okay, so I'm liking how that sounds. What I probably would do if I was actually making a track out of it is double this to 4 bars rather than 2, and add a ghost sort of somewhere slightly different, slightly later, slightly earlier, just to kind of make it not sound like a 2-bar loop, or, you know, 4-bar loop, might even do 8-bar loops. You know, sometimes when I program drums on tracks, and I've done this in house music just as much as hip hop, is I'll make the basic beat right from the very, very beginning. I'll copy that so it's 200 bars long in a house record, for instance. But then I go through the track kind of at the final stage. I call it the finals. And I literally play live drums over the top, add in fills, add in the odd little kick here and there, the odd extra snare, the odd extra clap, because that to me humanizes it. It takes it to that next level. It's a technique that Kenny Dope from Us at Work uses, Todd Terry. You know, most of the producers that you know from house music, for instance, that are real kind of beat makers, Kenny Dope especially. Also, you know, Pete Rock, J Dilla, Q-Tip, you know, the list is endless, Ninth Wonder. It's just adding those little flicks, those little extras that just take it to the next level, that make it sound just pro, just posh, just better, in my opinion. I'll just maybe that little last one at the end. Okay, so again, I mean, you could, if you like, just turn off quantization. And I do that sometimes. But the reason why I tend to steer away from that is because it can just get a bit chaotic. So I tend to leave quantization on initially, so that I can see where the machine's put it. Okay, the machine's put it there. That's on the 16ths or the 32s or the triplets. And now I want to just break the rules a little bit. So I like the guideline. I like I like starting off with it exactly where it's supposed to be, which is why I tend to leave quantization on. And then the don't snap and move it slightly. Bit too early still. There you go, that's the place. Okay, feeling that now. So let's maybe do something with the snare, sorry. Okay, so what I've done in there is a little flam, basically. But again, because it's quantized, I probably would have been better off doing that as a 32. But I could still work with that because I know what I've got to do. Okay, so let's move this right in. Actually, you can see I've accidentally moved the hats there. I only really want to move the actual snare. This is why sometimes it's better to do it on a computer screen. Is it moving the hat as well? No, it's not. It's just moving the snare now. There we go. We're nearly there now. You see, by just moving that last snare drum very, very slightly, just taking it a bit late, it injects a groove. And you know what I can do here as well, if I really want to have some fun, I could just highlight all the hats and drop them back a bit. Now that just makes everything sound lazy. Just literally by moving it 2 or 3 points to the right, because he's now sitting, he's got the hi-hat going and he's sitting behind the beat. So he's just got that lazy, lazy groove going on. So just by adding those little flicks, the little flams, the little late parts, the groove on the hats, the lateness on the hats, you can take a... That's what the beat was originally. So there you have it. Really, really simple technique to add some humanization. Now, there are a ton of other ways to add humanization in your beats. You know, we've all heard the stories about Jay Dilla just turned off the quantization. You know, we've all heard those stories, and I'm sure he did sometimes. We will never know, but he definitely didn't sometimes as well. As I said, we will never know. I don't want to open a can of worms here, but basically, for a long, long, long time, people programming drums have used these little techniques where it sits on the beat, sits on the grid exactly, and then you just nudge it left or right to push it or to swing it or to make it late, to make it lazy. Is it rushing? Is it, you know, do you know what I mean? Is it in front of the beat? Is it behind the beat? Just those tiny little things. And then adding those little flicks, those little ghosts in there. I mean, I love ghosts. I absolutely love ghosts. For me, it takes a regular drum beat. It's really, really good in house music as well. If you listen to any of my productions on house, you will hear that I always have little things going on in the background. You don't really even know them. Top lines, people will call them sometimes, with hi-hats. And, you know, you can take a but you can just add little and that just, those little bits that you add in, those little swingy bits, those little flams, those little additional ghosts, just take it from mediocre to proper posh dopeness. So thanks for watching. This is a Grace Motel, that coffee man, I'm telling you. My name's Conan. Until next time.